Hello, this is Emily, and I'm going to be going over, this is part one of a two-part session where I'll be going over creating a drawing in Clip Studio. So today we're going over thumbnails, sketching, and line art. And then next week we'll be going over coloring, shading, and color adjustments. So with that, we're going to get started. So for thumbnails is the first part. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. We should make a new canvas. So File, New, and then we're using an illustration. I'm going to use a 10-inch by 10-inch canvas at 300 dpi, which is print ready, which is like the minimum resolution that you want if you want to make something for print. And I'm only using a 10 by 10 canvas because Instagram uses a 1:1 ratio on their posts, so this will be good for Instagram posts too, so you can size down for Instagram. And we'll hit OK. And then when you're starting a drawing, the best, like say you want to, you're like, I have an idea. But you're not exactly sure how to go about that. Thumbnails are a good way to get you started. This will help you with composition and, kind of getting your idea across. Thumbnails are just like short little things to, like, they're short little ideas to help you get your idea across. That's basically what they are. So, like, they'll help you with composition, saying, like, if you're using the rule of thirds, you should probably have your focal point in one of these squares. If you are going to do something in the center as a focal point, you want it to be at the visual center, which is slightly above or slightly below the center line is the most aesthetically pleasing. So these are good spots to put your focal point in. Or like, I'm really bad at this, but the golden ratio, which is this kind of thing, and it does the spiral. I'm not really good at this one, but I do use the rule of thirds a lot. And I think for this class, we're going to do, I think we're going to do just something simple so that we can be sure to cover the entire process. So I'm going to do a portrait. And so for the, like, this could technically be like, this would be a thumbnail, is I know that I'm going to do a bust, and I think that I want some flowers around here, and I want them to wear a frog hat. And that's all a thumbnail has to be to get your idea across. A little big leaf. So let's take this. This will be my thumbnail. It's a lady with a frog hat. Usually you'll do like a lot of thumbnails, but I've been thinking about this for a while, so that's why it didn't take me very long to come up with. And then after you've decided on your thumbnail, you're like, yes, this is it. This is what I want. You can go ahead and get into your sketch. think I want her to wear a raincoat. Probably a big zipper. And if anybody has any questions, let me know so that I can address them. This is going under the assumption that you do know how to, like, you have a style in mind that you want to draw with, and you're just needing assistance with, like, maybe the creation process, or you get confused in what to do next after you, like, kind of got an idea that you want to make something. So I'm going to put this big leaf here. And then I'm going to, I've kind of run out of space, so I'm going to grab my lasso tool. I'm going to take my sketch, and I'm pressing Control C, but you can also do Edit, Copy, which is the exact same thing. And we're going to go onto a new layer, and we're going to hit Edit, Paste, or Control V, which would also be the same thing. We're going to, oh, I guess that did it on a new layer, so we have an extra layer. So we can turn off this thumbnail layer that we did. And now I'm going to use this scale and rotate tool to move my thing and scale it up a bit. So we'll hit OK to confirm that, and then Control D to deselect. Then I'll go back to my pencil tool, which I like to use for sketching. And then I'm going to make a bucket hat. Control Z is to undo, so I don't like that. I'm gonna So you're just kind of like feeling around to get your composition into place. And these are going to be flowers. You don't have to exactly know what you're doing in this like stage. You're just kind of feeling everything out. So that you can get your idea across, and we can refine it later. And you can, there's a flip canvas button. You can flip your canvas to see kind of where you might want to make adjustments. So I feel like her face is really far this way, but her body is really far that way. So what we can do is erase some of this. Her shoulders are also ginormous. And this is her like chin area. This is the side of her head. This is where her ear would be. This is the I don't know what this is called, but it's the part that connects to the clavicle. And so we would actually want her shoulder to be more over here and the shoulder to be more over here. Yeah. Okay. I don't like where this leaf is. I also don't know what like a leaf looks like. So a good idea would be to use Google to look at big leaf. Get on images and like find out what type of leaf you want to look at. I think I was thinking of one that looks kind of like this. So I'll put this back on my other screen and I'll kind of look at that leaf and other images of leaves to get the kind of idea that I wanted across. It's very, it's not as pointy at the top. Okay. So we've got kind of a rough idea of what we want. Here. This frog hat looks a little weird. I know that this is like the side part because based off of the head, this is where the side would be. So you can kind of follow that line to that. Okay, and then we're gonna wanna flip the canvas to see, because we were drawing one way for a while, we wanna just make sure that we're keeping everything, you know, aligned. And I don't like this expression, so we're gonna have her stare like this way. And I think these eyes are too close together, so I'm gonna go to my lasso tool, and instead of like having to constantly redraw the eye, I'm just gonna move it over to where I think it needs to be, and tilt it a little bit. We'll hit OK and Control D. If you want to switch between tools, your P tool or your P key on your keyboard will switch to your pen tool. If you hit it again, it'll switch back to your pencil tool. If you're wanting your brush tool, that's B. Click it again and you'll get to your airbrush, but I'm using the pencil tool right now. Okay. So we've kind of got a sketch here. This could be better. And this is the opacity for your layer. I'm going to reduce the opacity. And then I'm going to create new, and we're going to move on to our line art. And this is at your discretion. You can make like however many like layers you need for your sketch layer and refine it, but sometimes like you get like really caught up in trying to make your sketch layer perfect, but it's fine. I'm gonna make a new layer. That'll be where my text is for what we're doing. This will be our line art, and this is my sketch. Double click on the text where it says layer 1 copy, and we can rename that to sketch. Naming your layers will be good. This is the thumbnail layer that I have turned off. This I can use for later. What I'm doing. Okay. And then these two layers we can use for line art. And I do like to do line art in more than one layer, because when you get to a cross section, like say you want to draw your hair, but then you have to draw the hat next, instead of going over the hat and then having to erase it, you can just put it on a new layer so that when you get to this cross section, you don't have to worry about screwing up your hat. Okay, so let's just undo both of those. And I am going to use probably just this regular pen. This regular pen is fine. And in general, it's better to do larger, more confident strokes. This just looks better and cleaner when you're making a drawing. It'll also make it easier to color later. That's not to say you can't have like sketchy lines. It'll just be harder to process later, and it's entirely up to style. So there's no wrong way to do that. I just want to make sure the eyes are looking the same way. I don't know. No, they're not. Okay. This would be a good time to like, I'll make Okay, so on this second layer that I have left open, I know that like an eye kind of looks like. Ooh. So if they're looking this way, these lines can kind of guide me, and I can lower the opacity of this and make a new layer to get that. And then we'll do some eyebrows. Sometimes people just draw lines for eyebrows. Some people do this. Whatever your preference is, however you want to do it. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So let's turn that off. I don't like anything that I'm not using or like was a sketch layer. I usually move below my current sketch so I don't have to look at it anymore. And then I'm gonna go in with the hair. I'm not really too particular right here because I know it's going to be covered up with the hat. And then this is a good area where you want to zoom out so you can get a full like confident stroke on the hair. Are we live on Facebook? Yeah, I think we are. We usually are. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for answering. Okay. No, I don't like that. Okay, so fix that. You also don't have to be too particular with your line out, especially if you're drawing super big, because when you zoom out, your viewing angle or your viewing distance is a lot farther away. So like when you're like this, you can see that it's not connected here, but you can just barely tell farther away. Looks like it might be like textured on purpose that way. So you're good. And I'm just gonna go through the line art on here. I want them to match. Okay, cool. turning off your sketch layer will give you a good idea of what you currently have, because it can look a lot different. That's fine. That's fine. So I've got this area kind of sectioned out. I think I can use this layer to do the frog hat. And okay. Yeah, that's fine. Gonna cut that off a little bit. It should be do space. Um, ah, yeah, that I like that wider grin more. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Next, we're gonna worry about the jacket. Do you ever decide on your line art that you want it to be something different than what you do on your sketch? Totally do it. You're not entirely committed to your sketch. Okay. Okay. And that's not even going to be visible, but I made that guide for me anyway. This will also be cut off later, but that's okay. And then I'm gonna just do a big line through here. Okay. So what do we have so far? Yes. Okay. Nice. And then for the leaf, Okay. So not exactly going with my sketch layer right now. I'm kind of looking at the reference image to see how leaves are shaped. And then going off what I think is okay. It's not okay. There we go. Right now, I'm using Clip Studio Paint, and I'm on the pen tool right now. I'm using just the normal G pen. I've got it set to taper, which is actually just the normal settings on here. And I have it on a medium hardness. So if there's none or strong, the anti-aliasing will tell you how much fade there is between the pixels, or it'll make it like more bitmappy. And then I have the stabilization set to 6. The stabilization will tell you how it's your like line correction tool. So when I have it set to 6, which is pretty low, when I draw a line, there's little to no correction. So if you have a like really wobbly hand, it'll pick it up more. If you have it really high and you wobble it a little bit, it's not going to wobble as much. I'm going to put this back down to 6. And I don't have the vector line on, so the vector magnet is not on. Okay, so I didn't connect to these, so I'm just going to go in and fix it. Okay, and I'm going to go in with a new layer and probably a smaller brush size. Yeah, to get some of these. Oh no. I don't know how I did this on the bottom, but I did, and I do apologize. But I'm going to go in and just put like the rib of the leaf, some guiding lines for that. And then we can also add some on here. Oh, thank you. And we could probably add some holes to the leaf to give it some interest. And yes. So right now we've got these two overlapping, but that's fine. They're two separate, so you can technically move this around to adjust it later. I'm on a drawing tablet, but you can use a mouse if you'd like. Okay. And next would be the flowers. We're going to do the flowers separately. Flowers is another one to have a good reference image of. But I just kind of drew these orbs, and then that's how I will make my flowers. And you can turn off, like if any line art's distracting you, you can turn that off so you can have a better look at what you're doing currently. Okay. I'm also trying to avoid like these parts because it kind of makes a weird tangent and awkward like space when you hit those spots, which can be really distracting. Um, that depends on one of the questions is what version of Photoshop is good to use. Uh, right now I'm using Clip Studio, but for Photoshop, I think that the newest version has probably the best drawing applications, but anything past 6 um, has some good like tool options for brushes. Okay, so I've got one flower done ish, and then I'm gonna go to a new layer. Because these aren't like the main focal point, I'm just kind of they don't have to be as detailed as the other parts of the drawing, which are the main focal point. Because if you draw something like super detailed in one part of the drawing, that's going to draw away from the focal point of your drawing. This is fine. and then a new layer for this next flower in the back. This isn't going to be visible, so it doesn't quite matter. And that's it. Good morning. Since this one's away from the other ones and not really going to come in contact with the other ones, I decided to draw this one on the same layer as the previous one. It'll save like you being confused with like layers when you're drawing a ton of things, but they're separated. I'm gonna add some extra petals to this one. I think it's blossomed farther. And leaf. Okay. So we've got most of our line art done, but we need to go in and either erase line arts that, like this area right here, this isn't going to be viewable. But if you say like you want to keep that there, you can keep everything separated. So like, let's see, where is, this is my sketch layer. So girl 1, girl 2, and then we can keep these in a folder. So what I did was I like made a folder layer, and then I dragged them both into the folder. So wait. Oh yeah, this one too. So all 3 of these are in the same layer, or the same folder, so that they're separate from the leaf and the flowers. And the leaf, we can name that leaf by double clicking it, typing leaf. Name this folder girl. And we'll name this big flower other flower, flower 3 and 4 with leaf. That's probably too big of a name, but that's fine. As long as whatever helps you so you know where you are. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to clean up my line art for this because this hair isn't going to be visible because she's wearing that hat. So we're going to switch to the eraser tool, and I have it set to hard, so it's going to erase without leaving any marks. Clip Studio is okay. Thank you. And then I'm going to erase this part right here because this is behind her. And then I'm going to go back in with the pen tool and correct where I feel like things need corrected. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to probably do a light blue kind of into the green area. And I'm going to paint bucket tool sorry, my paint bucket tool is set for a different project that I was doing. Oh yeah, if you do like mess around with your tools on Clip Studio and you realize that you want them back to what it was before you changed it, this little button right here says reset selected subtool to default settings, and you can click that and then hit OK, and it'll reset to default so it can be how it was when you first like opened the software, because sometimes like you'll mess around with the tool so much to get it how you want it, and then you realize, no, I liked it the way before, but you can't remember the settings you had it on. So that's just helpful to get it back to the way it was. And I'm going to hold on. Oh, and I want refer multiple off so that it's only looking at what I want it to. And this layer, I made it blue. And then I'm going to go in the girl folder. I'm going to make a new layer beneath the girl. And now I'm going to select refer multiple. And I'm going to turn the other pieces off. Oop. When that happens, that means there's a gap somewhere that I didn't close. Oh, it's right here. Oops. I'll go to just check out my line art. And right here. You can fill the colors, but so say this is, here's a bunch of stuff where I didn't fill it in. So if I hit this, there's a, oh, sorry, the paint bucket tool. There's this close gap, and it's gonna try and read what large or what size of a gap there is. So right now it's pretty low. It's not gonna register gaps of a very big, but if I click, oops, put in the color that we can all see. So this one it registered, but there's like a little thing you would just need to erase a little bit. But here, the gap is so big that it's not going to do it. You can fix that. Like you can kind of cheat by like drawing in with your pen and then going in. If you don't want like a gap right there, or if you want to keep that gap. And then, or you can adjust your tool to be like really big and it'll like right 20 is the max, but I can set it to something like 90, which is insane, and it'll read that even though it's a really big gap, it'll read that it kind of wants to go in there. Yeah, so you can do a gap if you fill colors, or I'm sorry, you can fill in colors even if there's gaps. I just prefer to have my line art closed, so that's just entirely a preference of mine. Sorry. Okay. So that's all like, that's like a base white for the girl. And then for the leaf, we can also do a base white. Where's the gap? Whatever else. Okay, so the leaf is colored in, and this is colored in separately. So now, even though I didn't erase the line art here because I made the base white above the base white of the girl and the line art for the girl, I can treat these as two separate objects. And we can put all the leaf. This is for the leaf. And then we can do the same for the flowers. Okay, so there. Because there's lots of little spots, I kind of just fill in the outside with the white, and then I can do that. Or you can make it even faster and turn off refer multiple. And then turn back on refer multiple to do the rest. Put the girl back in here so I can do these ones. And then turn her off to get. And back to the paint bucket tool, refer multiple off, and then I can fill those in. And then, so now we've got a base white for the flowers. We've got a base white for the leaf. Oh, sorry, I should zoom out so everybody can see that. And then we've got a base white for the girl. And then we can move on to coloring, which we will do next time because we're going to go over color flats, shading, and then color adjustments next week. Thank you, everybody, for coming.